I'm coming to you live today to remind you that, first of all, to remind you to be a badass and to live the life that you actually want to live, and that it's cool to be a failure. And I'm going to share some of my failures with you and why they were really fun and why they were good and why I'm glad that I failed. And this is to give you some really life-changing inspiration so that you can go ahead and fail forward and make it fun and make it easy and still produce the results that you want. And that's the main message that I want you to take away today, is that you can completely half-ass something, you can even fail something and actually still succeed at the same time. So I'm just going to share this in the Big Creative Fun Facebook group. And so failure to me brings freedom, because it's freedom from perfectionism, it's freedom from self-judgment. And success is really all about failing forward. It's about trying. And when you failed at something, it means that you learned something. And as long as you keep failing forward, you'll get to wherever it is success to you, right? And I was reflecting and looking back on some of my own failures. And, I never really saw them as failures at the time. But of course they were. And there was always a lesson in them, and there was always a benefit. And I hear this all the time of people, really feeling like they're not enough to try. And I want you to take away from this message the permission to start where you're at, and the permission to suck at something before you get good at it. I think this is the most liberating way to live a creatively fulfilling life. And this is really how I've built a life of creative freedom that's really fulfilling, that I really love. And the most important thing is why I still managed to enjoy my failures, because there was a particular thing about the certain types of things you choose to fail at, right? Some things you can fail at and it can really hurt and really screw your life up. But it's about choosing the right things to fail at. And I'll talk more about that. So first of all, a few of my own personal failures. For example, last year I launched my first group program. I wanted 15 people in it. I got 4 people in it. So that could have been seen as a failure. I still made $700. This year I went on to make $3,000 off a program I never even made a sales page for. And I made $14,000 off a program I never even advertised. So I considered initially, when I had thought, I hadn't done things the right way, or, I didn't get what I set out to achieve, that it could have been seen as a failure. But everything I learned from that process went on to create massive success for me later on. And I'm set to more than double my income again this year. So failing forward is clearly working, right? And the most important part of this message that I want you to take away is that it's so important to be in alignment. So when you're failing forward at the thing that's aligned for you, that is genuinely a desire for you, and that thing that's kind of pulling you and grabbing your attention and calling you to move forward with that thing, that's when you get to leverage the power of your intuition and your creativity so that it works well enough. Right? Because when you're in alignment with you and your strengths and your talents and your gifts and your desires, most importantly, because if you don't really desire for something to succeed, chances are you're not going to give it a good enough go for it to even have like a successful failure, right? You probably won't even try. And that's the real failure. So this is the takeaway. The main takeaway is that you can get it to work well enough, whatever it is that you desire, whatever that dream is for you, for your life, in your career, in your personal life, any kind of shifts that you are desiring to make, you can make them work well enough to actually succeed in one way or another, succeed in a way that you're doing it instead of not doing it. So another failure for me, I originally applied to a master's program in Toronto when I first wanted to come back out to Canada, and I didn't get in and was, obviously really upset by that. But I ended up applying for a work permit and moving out to Vancouver. And I worked in the film industry there for 5 years. And I got to see the whole of BC. I got to learn all about First Nations by working on a documentary with them. I saw like all around the mountains and the lakes in Okanagan on a tourism job that I did. I just had the most incredible experience because of that failure. And I ended up getting into a master's program in Montreal. A few years later, I got full funding for it. And, you know, I tried again. I failed and I tried again, and it worked. And I've been trying to get my Canadian residency for 10 years now. I've been living here on different visas. And I failed my French test twice because I'm applying through Quebec. But, you know, if I'd maybe got my residency a few years ago, maybe I wouldn't have spent the last 4 years traveling and living in 14 different countries and doing the border hopping thing. So, you know, always looking back in hindsight, I can see that even though it felt like a failure at the time, there was always an amazing benefit that came from that, and always a lesson and some growth as well. So, and then I've made a couple of music videos in the past year and a bit. The first one I made myself. I totally botched the editing and was not proud of it at all. But it still won me a $900 bursary in a competition that I still submitted it to work with one of my mentors. So failure, but also it was good enough. Like, it was good enough to create a result for me. And of course I learned so much in the process. My most recent music video, I actually ended up asking for help. I got some crew members, and it ended up being shot in the wrong frame rate. So basically all of our footage is like not usable. It's not really worth, you know, putting the time in for editing. Although I'm sure I'll share it on social media. But nothing about that felt like a failure to me, because I still did a better job than I did the previous time before. And most importantly, it was just really fun. Like, I really enjoyed the whole process. And that's the key. Failure doesn't feel like a failure when you are enjoying yourself doing it, when you are actually giving yourself permission to do the things that make you happy, because then a failure is just a growth opportunity. It's a chance to move on and get better and, you know, continue the adventure. So this is my creatively free dream life. And the reason I feel that freedom, even when I'm experiencing quote unquote failures, is because it's fun. Like, this is the most important ingredient. If you're failing at something that you hate doing, that's gonna suck. So it's really about giving yourself permission to fail forward at the things that are fun for you. And I see this all the time, and obviously I've done this to myself, is like giving ourselves a hard time for being afraid. Oh, what's happening? My battery's running out. There we go. We give ourselves a hard time. And all these stories like, oh, we're not good enough, or, you know, it's not quite perfect enough, or, you know, I need like to do all of these things and like work so much harder than actually is really necessary to create a result. But that's really just a cover for, one, you know, being afraid of failure, but two, also being afraid of what we're actually capable of and how brilliant we can be when we do succeed, when we do give ourselves the things that will enable us to really succeed at the highest level. So this invitation is really all for you to stop pushing in the wrong direction, stop failing at the things that don't feel good, and fail forward in the direction that's actually really calling you. You know what that thing is. You know what it is. Because if something doesn't feel good, then it's not really the thing that you desire. The thing that you desire, failing at it even feels good. And that's really what my program, it's my one-on-one mentorship program, Your Creatively Free Dream Life, is really designed to do, is to get you in touch with your intuition so that you're really clear on what are those genuine desires that would be fun for you, to give yourself permission to go ahead and do it. And to let go of all of the stories that you've swallowed as truth about yourself, about, you know, not being good enough, not being capable enough to succeed at that thing. So your intuition and your creativity are really your superpowers in navigating your way to a life that's fun and fulfilling. You can't copy what someone else has been doing. That's really fun for them. You have to pick the things that resonate with you. You have to allow your intuition and inner guidance to point you in the right direction. And you can have everything that you desire when you give yourself permission, when you stop hanging on to the stories about why it's not possible. And when you actually own who you are and you focus on that and you really commit to it. So this program is really, it's to get out, it's support to get out of your own way. And if this is resonating with you, I'm going to put my link in the box to have a call together to see if you are a good fit for the program. It's basically a free creative career strategy session to help you get really clear on, what is that thing that would be really fun to fail forward? And you probably know what that is anyway. But what is the next step for you? And really, what are the stories that are holding you back from taking action and failing forward and having more fun with it? So this is really for people who have a vision for the way you want your life to be different. You're an action taker and you're committed to your dreams and you're ready to ditch the excuses and make it happen. So, we're ready to let go of those excuses, like I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not connected enough, experienced enough, energized enough. All of that bullshit has to go, because let's face it, it's not fun. These stories are not fun. And so it's, just ask yourself, how serious are you about experiencing what life can be like on the other side of your excuses? And how married are you to your excuses? So let me know if this is resonating with you. Click the link to book a call below if this really sounds like you. And I would love to hear more about your big, creative, fun dreams. So thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Lots of love. Bye.